Hello, this is Dale, and I'm joined by Mike Jones. Hello, Mike.
Hattie.
Well, we're going to talk tonight about something that happened on Thursday, and it's going to be repeated on Wednesday. You may recall Thursday admin meetings, administration meetings of the Board of County Commissioners is where they make a lot of decisions, and then they pretend like they haven't made the decision when they come to the weekly business session on Wednesday. So on Wednesday, 2 out of 3 of the commissioners will say, yes, we're going to spend $50,000 on a fellow by the name of Mark VonHolle that has convinced them that he has the key to economic development in Josephine County. And based on what Cheryl said in the past, I guess his first hidden step has to be to abolish BadCounty.com. Why, Mike?
Well, because some people say we're destroying the economic development here in Josephine County, and we're keeping high-tech firms and other, business promotion from coming to Josephine County.
We are high-tech. We're high-tech workers. What are we? A ham sandwich? We're high-tech workers. We're the ones that Keith Heck calls little moles that sneak around and do lesser services, and that's supposed to attract people here?
Yeah, listen. I wouldn't personally. I don't care about that. That's it. Really isn't the point. The point is that her point is ludicrous.
Well, she's talked with outside firms who have looked at
Yes.
How did they look at badcounty.com since we don't exist? That's so
It's a
strange.
lie. It's a lie. Listen, she is not opposed to doing that, and does it all the time. So, I think it's just better to point out that Cheryl Walker lies.
Well, when she
That,
puts it this way, I'll tell you right now
yes.
that she said twice in one sentence, believe me, this is what they're saying. What's this badcounty.com crap? She did say that. What is this? It's just terrible. Why, it's destroying our community.
Yeah. And she said also, now listen here, people. There is no porn. Your kids will
Yes,
not
she
have
did.
any access to porn at the library, and she's wagging her finger and
She
thumping
did
the
have
desk and stuff.
she did, yes.
It's ridiculous. It's a lie. Listen. It's convenient for her to just come up with this stuff because she knows that 99% of the people aren't going to check her up on it. And
She actually quoted me. She says, I'm going to quote Mr. Matthews here. Quote, what was that quote? We must, we are slow, end quote. I've never said that. I've never said that even about them, even though it's true. I never said that. And she even put quote, end quote in her statement. She completely, now what are you supposed to do when you have a county commissioner or anybody that feels free to completely make things up?
well, yes, but I will. I'll tell you right now.
Right
I'm going to tell you right now.
now.
Uh, I'll tell you right now. That's one of her favorite things to say, by the way.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now that we are getting sucked off into the weeds. Cheryl Walker, she has implanted into our brain. She's getting us off the track because this guy and the $50,000 plan is the real topic
Well,
of this thing.
Cheryl's completely against this plan because she wants SOREDI to do something like this. And if you love
Yeah.
SOREDI, then you're going to love Cheryl Walker. And she's been against every plan for economic development that I've seen that's come before them. If it didn't start with her. And here's what she did. You got to envision this. Whenever she gets upset, I mean, she gets royally PO'd. And when she's
Yeah.
upset, she puts her head down for half of the rest of the meeting. I'm not making this up. I mean, this was like a 2-hour meeting, and for half of the meeting, she's like this. Even after the guy's gone, and she doesn't want him doing this, she's scribbling 100 miles an hour. And when anyone says, well, do you have something to say about item number 6? No. Do you have something? No. Item number 8? No. Boy, she bears a grudge, but you got to play poker with this lady. You really do need to. First of all, after you beat her once, she's not going to put anything into the pot after that. But her tell, the thing that tells you what she has, is so strong she can't control it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
and if you ever want to witness this, all you have to do is go to any weekly business session, and pretty much you're gonna see this, because somebody's gonna piss her off at some point, with rare
well, they're
exception.
going to do something. I don't know if they're going to use that word,
Oh,
but
oh, oh, I'm sorry.
okay,
I'm
all right,
sorry.
but let's get to words.
Did the censor? Beep, beep, beep?
No, no,
Okay.
no. We don't have any censors. We don't have any sense either. No, but there's just as bad. So Mark VonHolle, the point at which is my BS meter. Okay, I'm terrible. You can't use letters, says Keith Heck. You cannot use letters. So my BS meter is going. It's pegging because Mark VonHolle comes in, and you're gonna love this, you guys. He says, "Well, there's a warm market prospecting wave." What? Really? Warm market prospecting wave? As soon as you hear this kind of stuff, you go, oh, I know what category this guy fits into.
Right. And what is that supposed to mean? That, hey, there's a lot of companies out here right now looking for this sort of thing.
Sure, they're prospecting, and they're coming. They want to come to Josephine County. There's only one thing holding them back, and what is that, Mike?
$50,000.
No.
You gotta pay.
BadCounty.com.
BadCounty.com. But they're not getting rid of Bad County first. They're going to pay this guy the $50,000.
Yes,
They're going to pay this guy $50,000. And you know what? This is, Dale and I have talked about this before. And if you're watching this on a regular basis, you know that. But this guy is going to produce. I predict that he's going to produce absolutely nothing, and he's going to get $50,000. Oh, yeah, he may come up with some fake stuff. He may come in with some papers and say, yeah, I contacted so and so and so and so. Precisely the same type of stuff that some people who are on unemployment produce for the unemployment office when they're supposed to have been looking for a job every week.
All right, all right. If you in the audience know anything about applying for unemployment, if you've ever known anyone that's applying for unemployment, here is the killer statement this guy makes. They said, well, Cheryl Walker asked him this because she wants SOREDI to do it. She's not asking because she's worried about the spending of economic development money. She was one of the prime people pushing for 214 full-time jobs from wheelchair ramps, right? Okay, so she says, well, how will we know that you've contacted them? And he says, well, I'll put it into a report, yeah. But, I'm going to need, get ready for this, I'm going to need to use code names, because if I put in their real names, why, others might come and take them away from us. So he's going to give them a report with code names. So one of the companies is Little Red Riding Hood, and another one is the Three Little Pigs.
Oh, and trust me, Little Red Riding Hood hits one of the Fortune 500. Let me tell you. Yeah, Little Red Riding Hood, yes, sir.
There's no way to follow up and see if the guy's doing the job, and if he's legit or if he's not legit, you'll never know.
Yes, and you know what? Your mind would be blown if I told you who Little Red Riding Hood is. But I can't tell you. I mean, this is a professional secrecy sort of thing. But man, I mean, your head would explode.
Well, it's just like Larry Graves.
Larry
Graves came in and he was explaining to the commissioners, explaining that Manor Development, and their principal Larry Osborne was one of the primary investors into Simon Hare winning in the last election, and then Simon Hare magically, for apparently no reason, said, I don't care what they've done in the past. We're looking to the future. If they've done anything wrong in the past, why? Don't even be thinking about that. Just think about the fact that they're one of my that they've got a wonderful plan. So Larry Graves is there explaining to the commissioners that we haven't seen any payment from these guys in the month of January. We didn't see any payment from them yet in the month of February, and it's halfway through the month. Halfway through the month, really? And they haven't made any payment. But They're working real hard to bring in a major motion picture into the Ivy Airport, where it's going to be their headquarters at the Ivy Airport, because they're going to have all this equipment, and the major motion picture is interested in investing millions and millions and millions of dollars. What?
So what's going to happen when, and I predict this, by the way, that Larry Graves, after having said all this wonderful stuff, made all these glorious predictions about what's going to happen with this drone outfit, when it turns out to be a failed real estate speculation scam, what's going to happen to the reputation of Larry Graves then? Is this going to come back to roost on Larry Graves? Because it really should come back to roost on Larry Graves.
What was his name again? What was that guy's name? Oh, I see. Okay. No, I think what's going to happen with Larry Graves, if such a thing turns out to be the case, is the same thing that happened to him when he was cursing and caught on tape saying F you and F this and F that and F your sister or whatever it was that he said. Nothing.
Yeah, but I mean, this is slightly different in the respect that we have him standing there in the ambassador saying, "Oh, I have vetted these people."
Yes.
If you vet somebody and they turn out to be a scam, you ought to be the sacrificial lamb at that point.
No, he's going to blame it on Lisa Shipley. She's in charge of vets.
Mm-mm.
Or he could blame it on Diane Hoover. She's in charge of the other kind of vets.
I was vetting them. I was throwing vets at them, and those guys didn't tell me.
Right.
Oh my gosh!
It's because she's
vets
shut
are
down
horrible.
her office to 1 day a week and walking. Okay, all right. So
now
this guy comes up to them, and Keith Hick is so impressed with this guy, Mark VonHolle. Mark VonHolle used to be with SOREDI. And then he broke off from SOREDI, and one version has, oh, they're best pals, and the other version has, no, they hate him now because he broke off and he's taking business away from them. And you can see it on Cheryl Walker's face that she doesn't want to have anything to do with Mark VonHolle. She wants all of our eggs to be in the SOREDI basket, and you can believe what you believe about SOREDI. So Keith Hick is so impressed, he says, this quote is perfect, he says, "This is really an adventure." This is really an adventure. And he also said, because he was so impressed with Mark VonHolle, do we really, I mean, this idea that he's going to contact 200 companies, that's a lot of companies to contact. Maybe we should only make it 75 for $50,000.
Wow.
Contact.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? I'll sit down. I'll make 200 phone calls tomorrow if I can have 50 grand.
But he won't have to do that, and here's the best part of all, and I hope you in the audience, once again, when you watch this show, you have to be sitting down, and you got to grab onto your chair, because you're gonna burst out of your chair and go, the alternate name for the show is what? Okay. Yeah. So he comes into the meeting on Thursday, and for some reason, this is very odd, we never see contract negotiations. They have the ability to do all contract negotiations in secret session. But for some reason, the details of this came out during the meeting. Now, my general rule is it conspiracy or lunkheads? I think it's probably lunkheads. Always go with lunkheads, that they didn't think about what they were doing. But he started negotiating the contract with them as he was sitting there. Mm-hmm. And Wally Hicks is there. Now, maybe Wally Hicks said, let's talk about this in public, and they weren't smart enough to say no. That's possible. I'd like to think that. Or maybe it's that you can have a contract negotiation in public if you ask for it, and the guy may have asked for it. Maybe they weren't thinking, oh, well, why not? But instead, a couple of times, both Keith and Simon, who were both pressing for Mark VonHolle to get $50,000 in economic development funds, they were both saying, well, maybe we should go to executive, or maybe we should go to executive, maybe we should go to executive session.
Right.
They never did. And so he worked out new details of his contract as they were sitting there in front of our cameras. Now, it's a half-hour video. We could put up the whole thing, but then if we put that up for you, you have to promise to go look at it and not just say, oh, thank you for putting that up, and never look at it, okay? But we could do that. We could do that. Stop promising things, you guys. Okay, so on Wednesday morning, the county commissioners are going to vote 2-to-1 to give Mark VonHolle $50,000. And I will emphasize for you how he changed the contract. So I'm going to look over here at my notes. It used to say that what he was going to do for $50,000, what he was going to contact 200 companies that are the right size and demographic for Josephine County and encourage them to relocate to Josephine County. Well, there's your wife in the background. Now, if that's not weaselly enough, it wasn't weaselly enough. First he wanted them to change it to and relocate to Josephine or Jackson County. Really? You see, he's made a special deal with Jackson County, or he says that he has. But when the commissioner said to him, "Now, wait a minute, will you show us your deal with Jackson County?" his answer was pretty clear: no. Well, we don't know if you've actually made a deal with Jackson County. Why are they asking this guy any questions? They're not going to ask any other questions. Okay, so the deal now is, as it sits right here in the middle, as we're sitting here at the table, the deal is that he will contact 200 companies, or the right size and demographics. The companies have demographics, and encourage them to relocate to Josephine County. Now, Mike could do this in 1 week.
Yes.
Or Jackson County, because all of our $50,000 may go entirely to calls to companies who are interested in Josephine County because of BadCounty.com, or Cheryl Walker, take your pick, which is worse. Okay, I have my opinion. But it could be to Jackson County, but that wasn't weaselly enough. Okay, I'm using weaselly. It's the perfect word here. He got them to change this as he was sitting there to he is going to target contacting 200 companies to go to either one of the counties. It doesn't mean he has to do it. He's just going to target doing that.
Yes. In other words, he doesn't have to do
Not
anything.
According to the contract. He doesn't have to do anything. I said, well, no, wait. He may need to put up a chart on the wall and hit it with a dart. Okay, I've targeted 200 companies.
Yes, and listen, all he has to do is say that he has targeted 200 companies.
And why? Why? Because they're all listed as code words.
Yes. What? Yes. He probably already has those names all written down. He has all the code names picked out and everything. This is the stupidest thing in the world, and probably the reason why they didn't bother to go into executive session is because they don't know how stupid they are.
This is incredible. Look, this is happening Wednesday morning, everybody. It's happening Wednesday morning. Please come and join in the hilarity. It's going to be Wednesday morning. And well, I don't know much. You know, all that you need is common sense. I mean, just bring your common sense with you this time, and you could just sit there, and you could, if you just went like this. I've gotten in trouble for doing that.
Yeah.
I have. I've gotten in trouble for smiling. Well, okay, that's not a smile. I've got in trouble for smiling at a meeting. Simon Harris says, I don't like the expression on your face. I don't like the expression on your face.
Yeah,
and you better not chuckle, because you heard the video. You've probably heard the video where Keith says, well, you can chortle all you want, but if you're going to chortle, you'll have to leave. Really? Really? You know, his chortling is my chuckling. And you can't even hear me chuckle. And other people around me were chuckling. He didn't like that. You're chuckling at us. You're chortling at us. Yeah, there's a comedy show. It's turned into a comedy show. He doesn't like that, and he may clear the room. Really?
But and you know, it is funny, but it's not funny at the same time, because you know, it is $50,000.
Yes.
Now it's economic development money, and here's this problem. We were talking about this earlier. Economic development money exists in this magical little place that it doesn't seem to matter if you get it or if you don't, because, hey, it wasn't your money before, and we're just giving you this money, and you spend it however you want to, and when you spend it, you can make a little plaque about how you spent it, and hang it on the wall, and give it out to people at the weekly business session as a proclamation, and it'll be like an award for yourself.
Oh, this happened with the Job Council. Okay, we're giving all this money to the Job Council. Job Council had a problem, their name, because they were called the Job Council. They picked the name, and so I went to one of their earlier meetings, and I said, "May I ask a question?" Maybe you've heard me say this. May I ask a question? I realize, of course, as a citizen, a citizen could ask a question at that point. That's not allowed anymore. Isn't this lovely? And I said, can you give us an idea? We know that you don't create the jobs, but you could give us an idea as the Job Council how many people you've helped find a job or get into a job created by somebody else. We know you don't create it by yourself. And the first part of the answer was, well, we don't create this by ourselves. Yeah, well, that's news. Okay, but I didn't say that. But okay. So the guy says, well, we're not prepared to answer that question. What? We're giving you all this money, and you're the Job Council, and you're not prepared to answer how many jobs you've helped people find. You're the Job Council. You have no way of answering this. It never occurred to you that somebody might ask you. That a citizen, the commissioners are not going to ask this. They got commissioners from Jackson County and Josephine County. There's 6 of them sitting there. It never occurred to them. You got over $1 million of salaries in this room. It never occurred to anybody at all ever to ask these guys, how many jobs have you? What else? By what else are you measured?
Yes, but Dale, this is the reason why they don't care about the jobs. This is not about the jobs. This is about, we spent $50,000 economic development money for the purpose of bringing companies and jobs to Grants Pass.
Well, no, they created the jobs for themselves. They've got the jobs in Jackson County. So you know what they've done now? Okay, first of all.
Yeah, but hang on a second, because I think that went over your head.
Yeah.
The point is, it doesn't matter. This is not about creating jobs. This is about saying, I did this. I spent $50,000 to create jobs. It doesn't matter if nothing ever happened because of it. It doesn't matter if no job ever gets created. This is not what this is about. This is how disconnected these people are from reality. This is about them doing this.
All right, I'll tell you what happened next on that. So a year goes by, a whole year, and there's a citizen again, me, and I'm saying, oh, I just have a question for you, and it's exactly the same question. You weren't prepared to ask it last time, so you've had a year now, and I'm hoping maybe you can, I was very nice and polite about it. Maybe you can answer that question. He gave exactly the same answer. We're not prepared to answer that question. I said, you are the Job Council. Well, by now, they're getting pretty upset with me for asking the same question 2 years in a row. It took 30 seconds the first time.
Yes, because you don't get that that's not what we do here.
Well,
no,
there's
we don't
more.
Do that.
There's
we
more.
We say we do this. We don't actually do it. Stop asking us.
There's more, and you're going to like it because it confirms what you're saying. So the third year comes, and I go to the meeting, and now they don't allow any questions from the audience. Right?
Well, at least they learn, the third time they finally figured it out.
So I complained a little bit nicely from the audience. I said, gee, really, you're not going to allow any questions? Well, they didn't like that question, and they weren't going to answer that. So what they did is they just, see, when there's a quorum of commissioners, here's the quorum rules again, you must allow cameras in, you have to allow the press in, you have to allow citizens in, you have to notice the meeting and tell people the meeting is going to happen. So they arranged it, and the commissioners readily agreed that there would never be a quorum of commissioners again at these meetings. This way, they don't need to worry about it. And Jackson County said, oh, whew, boy, we don't want that same problem. So then only 2 commissioners would show up. Then they decided, after they got just 2, one from Jackson and one from Josephine, that's not a quorum. But then they decided, let's not have any commissioners come at all. We'll just send them a written report. And here's the coup de grace. They've changed the name. It's no longer called Job Council, because I guess people kept asking this pesky question like, what about the jobs? Oh, do you have to answer that question? So now they're called Workforce Development. Now they don't help people find jobs. They just train them to find imaginary jobs. And boy, now every time, see, and they've allied themselves with the unemployment office, or whatever that thing is called, its official name. And
Mm-hmm.
now every time you walk in the door of unemployment, because you're required to do so, that counts as a visitor to workforce development. Isn't this great? And they get separate grants for this because, see, they're helping develop the workforce. And this is where I mentioned once before, a pregnant woman walks through the door, ding, ding. There's two contacts.
Yes. Well, you know what? And this is one of the reasons why we, as the citizens of this county, should take notice when people, when the commissioners are associating themselves with people that do this kind of thing, and it is complete BS.
Yes.
All they're involved in is getting grants for themselves, and it's this cooperative effort. Well, hey, I set up this little thing that allows you to put a brownie button on yourself, and I get paid at the same time. Well, after they've been doing this sort of thing for a while, wouldn't you think that it's a bad idea to continue to trust the commissioners, to do this sort of thing?
This is my point, and here's the next thing Mark VonHolle asked for, okay? This is going to happen Wednesday unless you show up and say things, okay? His new job was going to be to visit 40 companies. Visit 40 companies to the right size and demographic for Josephine County, and encourage those 40 companies that he visited to relocate to Josephine or Jackson County now, and with a goal of having at least 20 companies visit Josephine or Jackson County. But it doesn't say that anymore. Now it says he only has to target the idea of visiting 40 companies.
You know what? Hang on a second. Because I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you how complex this is, because I'm going to target 40 companies right now. Okay, look at me in my eyeballs here. I just did it.
Right.
I'm all done.
And so here's the question. Here's the question about this. If the commissioners come back and they say, no, wait a minute, that's not what we thought would happen. The same thing on this as every other goofy thing that they've done. This is why we're so tough on them.
Yeah. The contract.
All he has to do is say, read the contract.
That's right. Yeah, because the contract says. Ding, ding, ding.
So afterwards, I went over to Wally Hicks, over to his office. The camera's running. I've done this a couple of times. Boy, when I say this and they watch this show, they're going to say, we have to stop that camera running when he's not here to watch it. Why, it could burst into flames. Okay, all right. So I go around the corner to Wally Hicks' office, and I walk in the door, and we both burst out laughing. And I said, did you notice how he changed that from the idea that he has to, the next one says, facilitate the relocation of 4 companies, just 4, facilitate the relocation of 4 companies to Josephine or Jackson County.
Or Jackson. Why the hell would we want to pay for him to Jackson County? Come on.
That's right. And that's one reason, okay, a little parenthetic, that's one reason they wanted to see what Jackson County contract says. Does Jackson County contract say Jackson County or Josephine? Can we look at it? No. No, he was flat. No. Okay, so we'll never know if their part says only Jackson County. Why would they agree to that? Why would they? Because these are lunkheads.
Because they're just as stupid as these people are.
Oh, but it doesn't even say facilitate now. You know what it says? And this is why we were laughing. It says target facilitating.
Yes. So I mean, I realize this is not Wally's function, but does he close the door behind him after the guy's gone and say, "Hey, you guys, that doesn't sound like a very good deal to me"?
They were dead set on doing it this way. They were dead set. And Cheryl didn't even mention the target thing, because she again was so upset her head was down and she wasn't listening to what they were saying.
She's no smarter. She's no smarter than they are. No, and it may well be now.
She wants SOREDI to get such a deal.
Yes,
Who wouldn't want to? All I have to do is target the idea of facilitating. What kind of weasel words? This is warm market prospecting wave. You just target the concept and the idea and the spirit of. It's not
So,
like this thing is made with real milk. It's made in a place where someone once had a drink of milk, and now it's the spirit of milk that's included
I'm
in
telling
your
you, this
and
is
your
this is.
mac and cheese.
And so, do you wonder, people? I mean, if you wonder really why I have a healthy distrust of government, this is it. This is it right here. This is why I question every single thing that they do, and I assume that they're morons to begin with, and make them prove otherwise before I'm willing to go along with anything they propose.
All right, so you have the young man that comes into your house, and you take him aside and say, young man, are you going to be good to my granddaughter? Are you going to be good to my niece? And he said, I'm going to target being good to her.
Yes. Yeah.
And if I'm not good to her, if I start going out with other girls, they'll be known by code names.
Yes. Right. Yes.
Really? This guy's got every out in the world, and they just sat right there and agreed to everything. And Cheryl really just couldn't get past her anger to say, now wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense, you guys.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, here's the problem. I may be being too generous to them by saying that they're being stupid here. It may well be that they know exactly what they're doing, and they don't really care, because economic development money is something that they really don't have to answer for. It isn't our money per se. You can't see it coming out of the general fund and going to these people. It's magical. It comes from the state. It's nobody's money, you know. That's how they look at it.
On real economic development. We have two problems in our county. One, I think, stems from the other. One is we don't have any real economic development. Therefore, we're definitely not going to vote for something to keep us safe if it was going to keep us safe. So we've got a law enforcement problem. We do have a law enforcement challenge, and we have an income challenge. Now, this could help with the income challenge, but they're not going to be spending it this way because the guy comes in, he says, even Keith Hicks says, well, 200 jobs is an awful, 200 companies is a lot to target. Really, that's all that you're doing is just targeting them.
Yeah, in a year, for crying out loud. You know,
for $50,000, and keep in mind, this is $50,000 from Josephine County, because this guy's plan is, you got to see this plan. This guy's plan is he's going to get $50,000 first from Josephine. From Josephine. Then he's going to go to Jackson and say, look, I got $50,000 from Josephine. They're not going to say yes to 50. Well, maybe they're stupid too, but okay. Yeah. So they say yes. So there's 100,000. Then he goes to Medford. And there's another 50,000. And then his plan is to go to Grants Pass. So he'll make $200,000. He's making $1,000 a week just from us. $1,000 a week just from us for targeting, not for visiting.
No,
not facilitating, targeting the facilitation of the concept of, oh man.
And this is what happens when your county commissioners start to gauge the success of their tenure there by tearing a building down, you know, or they're grasping for these economic development things because it's a feather to put in your hat, and that's what they're after. They're after hat feathers. They're not after economic development.